It's all things sports, plus cop talk, current events, entertainment, and more. Joined by America's favorite Jersey girl, Robin DiLauri. It's the King and the Cop.
I had to explain to him the story. I said, he shoved me in a locker. I said, I didn't say nothing to this guy. My brother said, oh, really? Okay, I'll take care of this. Well, he sees this kid in the hallway coming downstairs to the cafeteria. My brother goes up the stairs and cracks him. I mean, cracked him. The kid's face just exploded. My brother had a gash in his hand from the kid's tooth. Again, my father and my mother used to blame me for my brother getting into trouble. Because I really did, because I wanted to be like him. So I used to start trouble with everybody's younger brother, and my brother used to have to fight their older brother. I'll never forget that time. And the kid never bothered me again. Old progressive.
One of the best big brothers who protected his butt at all costs. And tonight, we get to have Hall of Famer, Jersey legend, heavyweight champ, Guy "The Rock" Casale. How you doing, my brother?
Hey, guys. How you doing? Thank you for having me on.
Hi.
Hey, Robin.
And
How are you?
let me bring on this great producer and director, Guy Ferris, who is
Guy Ferris.
Nick Ferris.
Nick
Ferris.
Guy?
No, he's such a good guy. I got Guy on my mind all day long.
Listen to me.
But
My
Nick,
husband's a little gabaros.
Nick, how are you, buddy?
How are you?
We are here to talk to Guy and Nick is the producer and director of One More Round, The Life of Guy Casale. Guys, I had to start tonight's show with Paulie because he's been my brother for 30 years. We were in the police academy together. And I don't know if I've ever met anybody that could tell a story like him. But I've watched that video now for the last month and circulated it around. And I continue to laugh because it's the ending, the way he says, he's laughing and smiling and then goes, well, he never bothered me again. Just typical Paulie. But how are you guys doing? It's great joining us on New Jersey tonight live. And I say this, Nick, about this man, your partner here in One More Round. You can't meet a nicer guy than Mr. Casale, the Rock heavyweight champ.
No,
Thanks,
you can't.
Tommy.
No, you can't.
And when he was done protecting his family and providing for his family, and injury set him back a little bit, and who knows where he would have ended up, he goes and dedicates his life to law enforcement and taking bad guys off the street there. So one way or another, he was always doing the right thing. But, Rock, you got to tell me, I listened to one thing that really struck me, the Bayonne Bleeder, Chuck Wepner. And he said the greatest fight that he ever witnessed was when you went in the ring at the Garden and fought an ex-con, and I think Halpern is his last name, and you knocked him out. He was unconscious for 3 minutes, and you were not supposed to win that fight. So maybe you could start telling us how it was. You always like that underdog kind of, that everybody else was that you just had to prove everybody at all costs all the time since you were a young guy.
Well, as a fighter, I was a heavyweight boxer, and I was kind of small for a heavyweight, but I trained hard, and being in shape, I knew that the guys that I was going against, I had to last. And being in shape was the thing that I knew how to do the best. And Bobby Halpern, I'll be honest with you, that guy gave me a shot. I felt that shot go right down my body, right out my toes. Had it not been for the fact that I was in really good shape for that fight, they would have had to carry me out. Instead, I was in good enough shape to have him being carried out at the end of the fight.
I love it.
Yeah, I love it. And obviously we know Chuck Wepner famous. I think they finally admitted it, that kind of the movie Rocky was portrayed after him. There's always the argument he knocked down Muhammad Ali. Some people still claim he stepped on his foot, but he lasted a long time with the greatest in the ring. What were your thoughts about Chuck Wepner, the Bayonne bleeder from New Jersey?
Chuck is a true gentleman outside the ring. I'll never forget the time that I went to the surf club and Chuck was there unbeknownst to me, and I was standing in the line, and Chuck came to the front door. Somebody told him that I was standing outside. He comes outside. He says to me, "Rocky, what are you doing standing out here?" I said, "Chuck, I'm waiting to pay to get in." He goes, "You don't pay. You come right in." I said, "Chuck, I can't do that." He goes, "You come right in." He brings me in. He hugging and squeezing me, introduces me to Joey Barcelona. And he says, "Do you know who this guy is?" And I'm not one to go around saying, "Hey, do you know who I am?" I'm not that type of guy. And I was drinking Cranberry and Club. And he looked at me and he says, "Cranberry and Club, where'd you get that?" I said, "Chuck, I'm not a drinker." So I can't say enough nice things about Chuck. Back during the 70s, I would like to have fought him for the Jersey Championship. Unfortunately, I didn't. But he turned out to be a good friend and a true gentleman. He really is. People don't know that about him.
Rock, tell us how it was to grow up in Newark, New Jersey.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I think does anybody have something running other than this? Because
we're getting some feedback.
It's almost like you're listening to the radio while you're on it.
No, I'm in a room with the door shut.
Yeah, we're better now. Tell us what it was like to grow up in Newark, New Jersey, in the good old North Ward back in the day. Because the Italian wife here, although she grew up in Florham Park, she's more Newark than possibly us. But
no, I'm not from Newark. But I know everybody came west.
Right.
They either were smart and went to Florida, or they came west to East Hanover and Florham Park.
Yeah.
But my ancestors, they came from Italy to Bayonne. And the only thing I know about boxing is two things that I want to say. One thing that I find interesting about boxing is every movie that we've ever seen that has been completely commercial and universal and everybody loving it is about, and the reason I believe it's about that is it's because about the fight and the passion that people get to watch on the screen, and the underdog and the backstories about where two people are from, and then they get in the ring and they fight for their lives. And I just think it's unbelievable. And you don't have to know anything about the game of boxing to fall in love with the story behind it. So I've always been compelled by that. And then the second thing, and that I've only known about boxing, and I'm sure that I'm going to throw out this name. To you, this name is going to mean something in the world of boxing. To me, this name literally happened because a great friend of mine, who's one of the best musicians I've ever worked with, his father was from Newark, down neck, and he was a boxer. But he's older than Guy, so I don't know where it falls into any of this.
And the name?
Charlie Fusari.
Charlie Fusari.
So he's like a legend, right?
Yes, he is. Charlie Fusari fought for the middleweight championship back in the 50s. He fought Sugar Ray Robinson. Unfortunately, he lost. I got to meet Charlie back in the day when I first started having an interest in boxing, and that was only on an amateur level. And I met Charlie, and what a gentleman he is. And I can't say enough things about that man. He wanted to train me and to manage me at one point. However, I went in a different direction. I went with someone else.
Small
And
world. Small world. Small world.
small world is right. Yes.
It came through the world of music that I had known that, you know. But Nick, I'd like to know. I was curious about how this love affair, if you will, this magnetic relationship kind of happened, because I feel that you might be connected to the same love of the story that I am, which, you know, how did you two meet? And, you know, what, nice to have you on the show, by the way. And we're really excited.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you. I was a young kid when I met Rock. Rock was a very successful boxer. We were both working at a club owned by a Newark resident, Michael Ramo. Mike Ramo owned Creation up in West Orange, where I'm from. And I was a bar boy. And Rock was, I guess, for the lack of a better term, he was security. He was a bouncer. But there was something about, and you know, I knew who he was just by others telling me that, you know, he was an up and coming, you know, heavyweight, and he had fought at the Garden at the Felt Forum. He had fought and headlined Madison Square Garden and knocked out Bobby Halpern. And I'm a sports junkie. So, but what I always respected about Guy was he always protected me as a young kid. And he was a gentleman. He had a resume, and everybody knew and feared him, but you wouldn't know it unless you were told, because to this day, he's a perfect gentleman.
Thanks.
Of course. You know, in this world of social media that we complain about so much, that causes so much division. This is one case where I saw his name come across the screen as a suggested friend, and it said Guy Casale, and I said no, and I looked at it, you know, friends, and we didn't have anyone in common that I can remember except one, Phil Scroy, and Philly was the head of security, and Jude Longo. So I invited him to be my friend. He emailed back or messaged me, is this Nikki from Creation? This is some 35 years later, right, Rock?
Yeah.
And we instantly became friends. We've always been friends. It's a kind of bond back then that if you're a friend for life. You're not a friend for a day or a year. You're a friend for life. And you pick up exactly where you left off. Long story short, he was telling me that, you know, his story and a lot of things I didn't know about his story. And I said, Guy, this story should be told. I didn't know all of it. Now I do. I said, this story should be told because it's more than a boxing story. Boxing is kind of, you know, Newark sets the scene. Boxing kind of moves the plot. Essex County Prosecutor's Office moves it more, but it's the peaks and the valleys and the challenges and the things that came in front of him, the things he could have done that he didn't do, that to this day he can live here in Florida. And you're right, Robin, you either move to Hanover or you come where we are in Jacksonville or in Naples, Florida.
Well, we're freezing and it's raining, so I hope
sorry about that. Come where we are.
We have the good bagel. So
yeah,
congratulations.
Right. And so to this day, you know, you're talking about a guy with, I think if there's one word, with integrity. He owes no one anything, even though the temptations and the things that were brought to him could have went other ways. And selflessly, not selfishly, but selflessly, he did it the right way. And to you, Tommy, you said Paulie's a storyteller, right? There's only one better storyteller, and you're looking at him. Yeah. he can remember things that, I mean, I can't remember what I had for breakfast, and he's
Neither can
remembering
I.
details. And when he tells a story, he brings you in to be in that moment. And so this documentary is going to be a little different. We don't have to show a bully in the getting put into the locker, right? You can
Right.
imagine, because we all know bullies that used to do that, right? But
Exactly
then you
right.
put yourself in there and you see this guy with hair and muscles just taking care of his brother. So I mean, between Paulie and Rock, you have two great storytellers who tell a very compelling story about life.
You know,
Well,
Nick,
speaking of this is the wonderful thing about social media, and it's tough because it's wonderful. You want to get the audience engaged, and so this is at the point where I would be remiss if I didn't explain to you that we have a whole lot of comments, and I just want to share them with you at this point because I think it's wonderful that they're engaging, and I think you might smile a little bit because I think they could possibly be people that you know and love. So Matty Rusinello is saying cousin Paulie, and he wants you to know that Matty Boy is watching. I don't know if you can see these.
Yes, I can.
Okay, Rob D'Augustinus.
Rob
The
the
Augustinus,
Augustinus'
yeah.
uncle.
Robbie, yo Nick.
Rob the Augustinus' uncle was the middleweight champion of the world.
wow.
Wow.
Yeah, from
Yes.
Philadelphia.
Hey,
Absolutely. Go ahead, Rock. Tell him.
You use the word integrity.
Joey Giardello.
Joey Giardello, that's
Joey
right.
Giardello is Rob DeAugustinus's
Uncle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, don't forget also Tracy Serrato. Serrato is your cousin Tracy.
Yes, my cousin Tracy. Oh,
And you guys look great, Michelle Casal says.
she's a beautiful girl, Tracy.
Vito.
Not that I favor my family, but all my
Vito
cousins are
says-
beautiful.
Vito says you're a true gentleman and that Charlie Fusari is a legend. He's engaging a lot in this broadcast and we appreciate it. So I just want
Thank
to
you,
say
Vito.
those are
Vito's a North guy too. He's from North.
Yeah.
Hey, Rock, Nick, you used the word integrity, and I would describe, if I had one word about Rock, is the same thing, integrity. But the integrity started somewhere. Tell us about mom and dad and growing up in Newark, because that's where it started, in your home, and I know how fond you are, both you boys, of your mom. And then I got a funny story about your sister.
My mother was both mother and father to me, my brother, and my two sisters. Had it not been for my mother, I probably would have been in jail today, honestly. My mother kept us on the straight and narrow. She ruled with an iron fist, but she was a product of her environment and of the day. My father, on the other hand, he was a rough and tumble guy. All my mother had to do is say to my father, Vinny, your kids are out of line. Boom, that was the end of that story. And we weren't out of line anymore.
Right.
My mother, I as Rocky Marciano said once before, I get, let me see if I could say this right. If I say it right, I get my strength and my integrity from my mom, and from my dad, I get my wisdom. My mother made sure we grew up the right way. My mother was on top of us in the sense that you got to do the right thing because this is the right thing to do. If it's not this way, here's where you're going to end up. And I'm going to use a phrase that most Italian people would understand. I was a Mama Luke, okay? I lived and breathed on my mother's every word. I mean, I was a street guy. I'd like to think of myself as I could protect myself. I never looked for trouble, but I never backed down from it.
Right.
And my mom was the one who instilled in both my brother and I, and my two sisters for that matter, these are the right things to do, and this is how you're going to go about doing it. And we listened to her because she was our whole world, really. Had it again, and I don't mean to be repetitive, but had it not been for my mother, I don't think I'd be where I am today.
You're making me cry. Did she call it gravy or sauce? So this is what I want to know.
What's that?
Did she call it gravy or did she call it sauce?
I was going to ask you the same thing. We called it gravy. We didn't call it sauce. You're
making me cry. You know, it's a mother's dream to have a son say those beautiful things. So, you know, about her. So God bless your parents and especially your mom. And, you know, to Nick's point, like there's not enough stories out there like this. And in today's day and you know, in today's crazy world with all that we're changing and doing and afraid of and all of that, we can all relate to love, right? And that's everything. I don't know. I love it.
You know what it is? You know what it is, if I may, Robin and Tommy, every person we contacted to appear in this documentary, without hesitation, said yes. Whether it was obviously family members, of course, they're going to say yes. Let's be frank. Childhood friends, of course, they're going to say yes. But I mean, we have people in boxing that absolutely said when, not can I. And we're talking about guys from the neighborhood. Tommy Marola, there's one. Okay. Yep. Bobby Ches, two-time middleweight champion, instantly said yes from right up the street in East Orange, where he was originally from. Chuck Webner, who you mentioned before. Teddy Atlas. Teddy Atlas is a Hall of Fame trainer. I believe it was 22 champions he's trained. 22. Okay. And there he is, including, you know, in the camp of Mike Tyson. When I tell you that he opened his house up to us, he invited us in. We interviewed him for, I don't know, a good solid hour and a half. He remembered The Rock. He remembered stories about The Rock. But more than that, he spoke about life and about what it takes to be a boxer and some other things that you're going to see in the documentary. When you have someone on that level open, and then buys us all lunch and doesn't want us to leave.
That's right.
Amazing.
That's not because of me. It's because of the subject of this documentary. And the storytelling and the story itself. It's a 3-part documentary. Part 1 is called The Spec. Part 2 is called The Rock. And part 3, I'm not going to give away the title yet.
That's great. I have to tell a personal story about the family. As I mentioned, Paulie and I were in the Newark Police Academy together. And we were like kids in a candy store because I think all of us probably had our first job and we got paid every 2 weeks. And we couldn't believe, you know this, Rock. You got a paycheck to be a cop and you're in the academy and you're feeling it. And then as you're getting closer to graduation day, well, we got paid every other Thursday. And Paulie would tell the class, let's go cash our checks at lunchtime. So your sister worked at the bank. Your beautiful sister, who everybody in line had a crush on. Everybody.
My sister Elaine, yeah.
Right. So we couldn't wait to run to that bank to cash our check. So I'm sitting next to Paul. I'm like, what's the status with your sister? He said, here's the status. You're married. And my brother's Guy. Did you forget the heavyweight champ? He'll knock you right the hell out. Like you and the rest. So he got up in front of the class and I had to tell everybody who you were. And nobody was allowed to go to the bank anymore. He took the check and cashed the check. That was his brother Paul. But classic, you know. But then I would later work with you in the prosecutor's office. And it was hard for people to believe that this man was a fighter. because he had such integrity, was such a gentleman, unless he was put in a position where he had to defend somebody or himself. But you don't meet many men like this that were in that sport that had a heart like this, or you were a mama's boy. You really were a mama's boy, and that's a compliment. I'm a mama's boy. But I can't wait to see this documentary.
Me neither. Where Anne-Marie Mengira Winters is saying, great show, great interview, great story. Hi, Maddie. Do you remember Anne-Marie? I'm sure. Anne-Marie Mengira. Am I saying it right?
She's my cousin, Anne-Marie. Yes.
I haven't seen one Irishman or Pollock on this thing yet.
They're all shutting me up because everybody.
It sounds like an Italian movie, one by Sergio Leone.
And I'm not even gonna put out there that I put raisins in my meatballs, because then I'm gonna get a whole comment. But about the documentary, I want to know when I can see it, where I can see it, and so we can share away. And I selfishly want to watch it right now.
Well, if all goes well and things are going well, we didn't just do 10 interviews and just slap something together. There's an original score that's being written. We're still tweaking the voiceover. All goes well, this will be released probably in May. And when it's released, it'll be, we're building our own streaming platform, our own website called, it'll be onemoreround.tv, I think it is the URL. So if you keep following us on Facebook, we'll keep educating people, but it'll be a 3-part documentary. Right now, you're looking at probably over 3 hours when it's all said and done.
I can't wait.
So we broke it up into 3 sections. That way you buy it, you can watch it forever. You can watch part 1 a week later, or the next day you can watch part 2, part 3, but you can't share it. So there you go.
Well, I'm a binger. I binge. So we have to get this to Apple TV or Hulu or I would love to just sit there and do it. 1, 2, 3.
We'll see where it goes. If we create enough buzz, they'll be coming knocking our door down.
That's right.
Make sure you share every little bit in nook and cranny of that. And
there's so much Jersey in this documentary, and the writer, one of the writers is the son of Hall of Fame broadcaster Pat Summerall. His son Kyle. Wow. His son Kyle is writing this. We had someone do a lot of story structure in the beginning. Kyle has kind of taken it on, working with me. Original score, a voiceover being done by someone who's doing the voice that was nominated for an Emmy for doing the voice of Jimmy the Greek on a 30 for 30 special on Jimmy the Greek.
Nice.
Basil. He's actually a comedian, Basil the comedian. Basil Katsikis is his name, but he's got this incredible voice. It really has a flavor of Jersey, really has a flavor of boxing. And then it really has a flavor at the end of life. Guy has an incredible family, his sister, his brother, his daughters, and his lovely wife. And that unto itself is a documentary. Why
did you let Paulie do the voiceover?
Hold your thought. We're going to go to commercial. When we come back, we're going to talk Seton Hall Law School. We're going to talk prosecutor's office, and we're going to talk more family and more. One of the greatest guys I know. I can't wait to hear about One More Round, more about One More Round when we come back. We'll be back in about a minute.
Caffeina. Boost, replenish, hydrate. Caffeina with your meeting, with a workout, on the go, to keep going, with a meal, with friends, to kickstart your day. Caffeina, Amazon's best-selling caffeine-infused spring water, 7+ pH balance, electrolyte enhanced. Taste pure spring water. Feel the charge.
I wanted her to let that go. That's the beautiful host here, Robin DiLauri, singing Connie Francis, because you two have another mutual friend, Mr.
Lorenzo Crescibani.
Oh, my Lorenzo. Are you kidding me?
No idea how that all happened. Ashbet, listen to this. So I've known Lorenzo for forever. He's one of he's down by you now. He's very upset about moving, but now he's so happy, and he knew he would be, and I'm happy for him. But I miss him so much. So I go in just to record. I write a few tunes, and I say, Tommy, you got to meet my friend. I'm going to go in, and I'm going to record a few tunes. Well, we sit down, and they're in the control booth, Tommy and Lorenzo, and they're in a love fest, right? They're in a love fest. And all, like, within 5 minutes, they're talking about you.
He says,
I don't know you. I don't,
right. He says to me, he said, Robin sings Connie Francis better than Connie Francis.
Well,
and this is Lorenzo. Now, this is Lorenzo's opinion. He goes, Robin is my favorite voice in the 40, 50 years, right? He said, but me and my buddy Guy interviewed Connie Francis. You got to see.
That's right.
So he shows me the clip. I'm like, that's Guy Casal. He goes, how do you know Guy Casal? I said, we worked together. His brother was my that was it. We weren't even listening. She's like, hello, I'm recording in here.
Yeah. But wait, so the best part about that is, that's not the best part, but it's such a small world, because remember I told you about Charlie Fusari,
right?
So I never met him. My very good friend Rob is his youngest son,
right?
And his mother is Connie's best friend, and she's godmother to one of Rob's brothers. I don't know if it's Rob or Mark or Charlie, but there's so my connection. I never actually got to meet her, but I've been singing that song for decades, and the degree of separation is just one. So that when Lorenzo I've known Lorenzo, and then he showed us, remember?
Yeah, he showed us. I watched the interview that you guys did with Connie Francis.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Lorenzo I had Lorenzo to my house for dinner years ago. He's a great guy. Both him and Tommy Patillo, the lead singer for the Duprees, got this show together called Everything Italian. And one day Tommy gives me a call. He says, I'd like for you to be a commentator on my program. It's going to be a web program. Eventually we're going to go to online. I says, okay. So I get to meet Lorenzo. Lorenzo and I hit it off like we were friends for 100 years already. And we had so many laughs together. Oh my God. Every now and then he'll text me, how you doing? What's going on? And he told me he was down here in Florida now. And I told him, look, we got to get together. But what a great guy. And that interview that we did on Connie Francis, it was at the Nanina's in the park back, oh God, I don't even want to go back that far. I think about 12 years ago. And we had such a good time, and Connie was so receptive to us.
She's very
and that song that you were singing, Robin, is my favorite song by Connie Francis. When I was a kid in high school, all the collegiate kids used to call me a greaser because they said I was a Nicky Norker. And every time they saw me, they would all sing "Where the Boys Are."
Well, funny story. My father, God rest his soul, he thought, when like, Italian, they got a joke and they tell it to everybody, and they know it works. They just use it all the time, So there's just certain jokes that I remember that this is kind of sick and it's not funny, but now it kind of is because whatever. But he used to say that his and my mother's wedding song, because he knew I loved Connie Francis, was "Who's Sorry Now." Like, So he said it a lot because it gets that kind of laugh, right?
Rock, how do you go from the streets of Newark to heavyweight champ to Hall of Famer to Summit PD to Essex County prosecutors, and then you wake up and go, let me go to Seton Hall Law School? What's the thought process there? You had to protect guys like me and your brother, or what? What were you thinking?
It was achieving. That was the whole thing, was to achieve. And part of the reason why I got into boxing was because I was looking to achieve something. I played football in high school. I went on to play semi-pro football for a year or two, and it was something, it wasn't satisfying me. And I got into boxing, and I devoted my heart and my soul to it. As I did anything that I've ever gotten into, I devoted my heart and my soul to it. After boxing, and just to correct you, I wasn't the heavyweight champ in New Jersey. I fought for the heavyweight championship. Unfortunately, I got an injury in that.
You're
I'm
Newark's
sorry.
you're Newark's heavyweight champ, and you're our heavyweight champ. So,
Well, thank you, Tommy. I appreciate that.
Belmont misses you a lot. Do you miss the Belmont?
Yeah, I do. I do miss the Belmont.
he misses the Kings for the Belmont.
Oh my God. Chicken Savoy, that's the best. The best
Go ahead,
around.
interrupted
Go
you,
ahead.
but with Seton Hall, go ahead. What were you going to say?
So after boxing, I was making the decision, where am I going to go now? Because I don't have boxing anymore, and there were reasons why I wasn't in boxing, and I'm not going to get into them because I don't want to give away the plot to our story. However, I went back to college because I already had 2 years of college behind me when I got into boxing. And I went back to college and I finished it. And then I got that hunger again, the same hunger that I had in boxing. I had to achieve, I had to go on. I wanted to accomplish something in life. And I went to graduate school after college. I got my degree. And in fact, I had a double major in college. I got my degree and I went on to graduate school. Well, 2 years into graduate school, I'm thinking to myself, I never thought of this, but I'd like to be a lawyer. I think I want to be a lawyer. And again, I put everything I had into getting into law school. I got into law school, Seton Hall Law School. Not throwing accolades at myself, but you know how it is an accomplishment in itself to get into Seton Hall Law School.
Right.
And I finished, I graduated, and I accomplished that again. Onto the heavyweight championship of the world. This was part of it. Getting to be an attorney. I never practiced law, but it was an accomplishment that I set out to get, and I got it. And anything that I've ever done in my life that I set out to do, I got it.
That's great. And and I think that comes from, I was blessed enough to have some athletic ability, and you never lose that edge. No matter what you take that passion to win or succeed, you put it into anything you do in life. Even both of us, whether it's singing or this show, you're all in. It's never a half-ass moment for you in life, and I think that's a great thing to do. Tell me about your kids and how you probably instill that into your own children. And of course, you have Nick mentions an unbelievable supportive wife, that wives give up their life sometimes for their husbands' careers, or try to help their husbands' careers or their kids' careers before they do their own thing. Tell us a little bit about that.
I have two beautiful daughters, Nicole and Marissa, who I did everything I could while they were growing up. We moved into Basking Ridge. I lived there. I got a house. I I gave my daughters the father that I never had. I gave my daughters things growing up I didn't get, I gave to them. That was in and of itself a feat for me to do, because I didn't have that. I had a very strong mom, and which rubbed off on me and rubbed off on my children. My mom, I know that her children were her whole life. My children weren't my whole life. They were part of my life. And there was the distinction that I learned how to make the separation. My wife now was my high school sweetheart. Okay. We both got married to different people. We broke up after high school. We went on to different relationships and different things in life. And we got back together again 36 years later. And she's a Newark girl. She's from Newark. And it's just so funny how life is circular. And so who knows? Maybe in a couple of years, I'm going to go back into boxing again. I don't know.
We moved to Basking Ridge too, and I there's so many, like, it's how beautiful was Basking Ridge?
It was a different world altogether than from what I grew up in, where I lived.
You raised your girls in Basking Ridge.
Yes, my daughters grew up in Basking Ridge. They went to the Basking Ridge school system.
So Ridge High School.
Which was a good environment for them, because their peers were looking toward the future and where they grew up and what schools that they were going to. Back when I was going into high school, guys went a couple of ways. They either went into the service, they became gangsters, at least they thought they were, or they went to school or they got a job. Those were the avenues. So it wasn't so much as it is today that you teach children, you have to go to school, you have to be a professional, you have to, do something with yourself.
So if you notice that Tommy's making faces, it's not at anything except for, and I have a feeling that you're gonna like what I'm about to say, both of you. So we have a golden retriever, and I'm obsessed with this dog, and this dog is like my third son. But so if you see Tommy, because I'm watching him make faces over here, well, it's because I won't let him leave the studio because he needs me.
Oh, that's great.
Very annoying.
Well, what he does is we're in our home studio tonight, and he does this gumming, like he's chewing. And I always say, while I'm on the show, I don't need to hear him gumming. I'm trying to focus on what I'm doing. And here he is on her lap, gumming, looking at me like, when are you going to yell at me to get the hell out of here?
Let me say a few things right now. One, everything that is coming out of your mouth, Guy and Nick, tonight I cannot wait for this documentary because it's so inspiring and it is so universal and it relates to everyone and everything. I am completely warm in my heart from listening to all of this. Number one. And number two, a dog is everything. And a dog is the same way. It's heartwarming. It gives you love, and if you just know, when you know, you know.
All right, pet lover.
Sorry.
Just let me interrupt you for 1 second. My little boy is sleeping over here on the side. I have a Brittany Spaniel. His name is Bo, and he doesn't go anywhere. When I leave the house, he lays down by the front door and doesn't move, and he sulks until I get back home. In fact, my buddy's sleeping right here on the side.
Guy, I'm telling you, my father, Italian, strong cop, I never saw him cry. His father died. Not that he was upset when his father died. When our family dog died, it was the only time I remember my father wailing And I'll get choked up telling you this, but he was in the kitchen. I'll never forget. I was in the other room and I heard my father say, I can't curse on here, but he screamed, I want to effing die.
Yeah.
Like my father's heart that day was broken and will never be the same.
Yeah.
Could never be the same.
I'm going to tell you, we'll have two things that we can relate to what you just said. And neither one of them has to do with our dog Fitz, whose my mother's last name was Fitzsimmons. We named him Fitz. And we'll get into this on another show. We know the work you're doing because they're doing a documentary about a story about us, and it's called Fitz. And it's about a Newark cop goes to the prosecutor's office. You know my story.
Right.
The bat for the prosecutor winds up getting involved down neck and everywhere else. So an LA writer decided she loved this story and wanted to write it. So we also have been filming and doing everything. And
congratulations.
Thank you. And it's fun. But what I wanted to say to you is the story about your high school sweetheart. God makes plans. I mean, we make plans. God laughs at us, right? This girl I met on the stage when I owned the Newark Bears minor league baseball team. And she was singing. I was at an event in, what park were we in? Branchbrook, not Branchbrook.
I was with the Infernos and we were singing at Susan G. Komen.
Season Ju, blah, blah, blah. And I'm one of the MCs, the backup MC. Or as Robin says, the filler in the seat, because Hoda Copy was the real MC. And when she would go to the bathroom, I guess I would get up there.
I was on break. Coda was on break. Right. Hoda was on break, and you were doing it.
So make a long story, we met 8 years later. I reached out to her and said, hey, I need the band for an event I want to do for my brother, who at the time was one of the colonels in the New Jersey State Police, and now he runs New Jersey Port Authority. He's the superintendent. But Eddie got cancer from Ground Zero, 9/11 Ground Zero. So I want to do this event. So I reached out to Rob and said, she's like, of course, we'll do anything you want. Hey, and by the way, my boys are older, and you can appreciate this. I'm doing little sidebars. Her one son just graduated high school. He's one of the top running backs in the state of New Jersey, shattered all the records. Her other son's a sophomore, just lit it up his sophomore year in varsity. So we got 2 stud athletes in the house, and I have 3 girls. I never had any boys. So we meet. She says, I want to work besides singing.
I need to work. So I said, I took a company. We took it public. It's a law enforcement product called Bowler Wrap. It's a non-lethal weapon. Had tremendous success. It changed my life. And I said, wait, hey, we're going to start a foundation called Let's Wrap. The product was wrap technology. I said, we're going to do about cop suicides. I was worried about cops. She's hired. Fly her out to California. Next thing you know, we're falling in love with each other. She says, we got to leave each other because I need this job. I can't be with you. I was a single mom. Yeah. I finally got a day gig. I was working with the Infernos, but I needed a day gig. I needed to pay a mortgage, and I made a promise to my children that we were never going to leave our home. And so they're my boys, they're my babies.
Here's the story, Nick. She said, I can't do this anymore. I can't work for you. I said, you're fired. And we got married 3 weeks later. That's our story. The whole.
Well, then the joke became, then I became his boss.
Yeah, and as you can see, she's my boss tonight. But 3 daughters, buddy, all girls my whole life. Marry a woman with 2 boys, which is the Bronx Zoo I live in now. But I finally had a boy, and I got a 3-year-old grandson and 2 granddaughters. But my boy is I call him my boy, is my mini me. So he's not my dog that lay next to me, but this kid goes everywhere with me. He's my guy. And as far as the dog, I love him. But when he's with her and me, it's all about her. If she's not here, he's my best friend. Other than that, he wants nothing to do with me, so.
But you know what? I just feel like we can all relate to the love of I don't know why it always comes back to the love of a dog, but I feel like when you know, right? So, but I want to hear more about the documentary.
I do.
Because
Nick, what's your favorite part so far without giving anything away of the documentary? What would you say besides the guy, the way he tells a story? Was it when he was the younger man, the boxer, the police officer, the lawyer, the father? What is it? What would you point out that is the real teaser here?
I mean, he hasn't changed. I mean, every phase of his life, he's the same man, and he thought the same way. It's tough. I mean, there are parts of it that are riveting and very emotional. And I knew that it probably wasn't easy for The Rock to sit there with a crew sitting there staring at him in a gym with a ring behind him and smoke and guys and lights. And he was reliving some painful stuff. I think my favorite part actually is towards the end, where his family and his friends try to define what one more round means to Guy. And they all have their own, because I mean, we all know one more round is a boxing expression. Sure. Because all boxers retire, but they all think they have one more round left in them, right? Yep. But in this case, I think it's one more round about life. It's more about life. And what is Guy's one more round? And everybody answers it just a little bit differently. And then, of course, at the end, Guy answers his own truth. If you look at our Facebook page, Philly Scroy, yep. He sums up your one more round in such an eloquent way, and that's one of my favorite bites. I saw Teddy Atlas just kind of blows me away through the whole thing. Paulie does. You know what I love, Tommy, is his childhood friends. We're talking 40, 45, 50 years ago.
Yeah, 50.
They talk about him as if they just were in that abandoned parking lot down the street from Grafton Avenue where they grew up, playing all day long until they heard Guy, Paulie. From God knows when they heard those two words, they had to run. They had to get home, or the street lights went on.
And so, aren't we missing that in today's society?
Well, let me ask you a question. When you drive through the neighborhoods, I know here in Florida, you drive and there's no kids playing hockey on the street.
Nothing.
There's no kids playing tag. There's no kids playing telephone pole. No one's out. Everybody's playing video games, sitting behind computers. I'll tell you what, I think in so many ways, social media, the computer is great. But on the other hand, it's really who eats dinner together. I remember we didn't start dinner until my father got home. It didn't matter. Yep. Right. But now people are eating in one room. People are eating in another. The TV's on over here. The breakdown of the nuclear family is a big part of the breakdown of America, in my opinion.
I tell my kids that my dad was also a Newark police officer. And if my dad worked 4 to 12 shift and it was the summertime and we weren't in school, we ate dinner at 2:00.
That's right.
We ate dinner with my father before he went to work. That's right. The way it was.
4 to 12 shift reminds me of my mother saying, "Stay away from your father. He's in a bad mood."
I think when you really think about it, I think I'm just a little younger than Rock. I think we're probably about the same age. Obviously, Robin, you're very much younger than all of us. But that is, I miss it. And I think we were very blessed and fortunate to grow up in a place and in a time where you could pick up a phone and speak to a high school classmate and it was like yesterday, right? Mm-hmm. Where today, people just go off on their own and there's no neighborhoods. There's no traditions. There's no any of that. I think it was like I remember being in Los Angeles when Raging Bull was out, and I'm the only one in the theater laughing because of the neighborhood and the way they spoke and this and that, right? And everybody else is just looking around like, what's so funny? What's this guy nuts? It was that neighborhood thing. It's that. it's that Newark, New Jersey. I'm from West Orange. I grew up in West Orange.
Mountaineer.
I'm a West Orange Ram.
They're
Mountain
Ram.
Ram.
Right? Mountain something.
Mountain Ram. Well, when I was there, it was Mountain Ram 79. Mountain. Up the hill, down the hill. To this day, how many years later I can call it's like best friends. Like we.
West Orange is very interesting.
Yeah.
You have a camaraderie with your alumni, and if you're from West Orange, you're family forever.
Yeah, we are. I mean, it's a unique place, as Newark was. But back one more round, what Guy has gone through in his life, personally, professionally, in sports, I think I'm so glad that a guy like Henry Hascup, the president and founder of the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame, looked up his name, looked at his accomplishments, looked at who he fought. As Henry says, you can be 32-2, but never fought anybody.
Right.
Right? Unanimously selected for the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame. And when he called him, Rock hung up on him, thinking it was Paulie pranking him.
Of course.
That's the truth. Oh my God.
Hey, we got 2 minutes to go.
That's the best.
We got 2 minutes to go. You're
wait a minute. That makes me laugh. So you thought it was this?
I had explained to him the story. I said, "Show me."
That's him.
He gets on the phone. He goes, "Hey, Guy, is this Guy Cassell?" And I went, "Yeah." He goes, and I was working at the prosecutor's office at the time. He called me in the office, and he said to me, "I just want to congratulate you on getting into the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame." I went, "Paulie, I swear to God, I'm going to come over your house and punch you right in the head. Stop screwing around." And I hung the phone up.
You had to call him back.
Hey, real quick, we got 2 minutes to go. I'm assuming Marciano, who you were named after, favorite fighter, or who was your favorite fighter of all time?
Rocky Marciano.
Right.
Because I try to emulate him. He's a man. The odds were always against him, as they were against me too. And I just immersed myself into emulating him and being the type of fighter that he was.
You guys have to come back.
Yeah.
You have to come back. We could do a whole show about growing up and the way things used to, like, Nick, everything that you were saying, I just wanted to break down into pieces and talk about, you know what I mean? It was just beautiful. And I can't get enough of you, Guy, and your story. And I can't.
Thank you.
Documentary, and we'll get all of those links up. onemoreround.tv.
I'll email. I want to just confirm that.
Okay,
as soon as it comes out, we'll let you know. Maybe when the website comes out, as we get closer to the launch. Your third partner, I was a big fan. Please thank Jim. Big Yankee fan. I remember '96 that big home run he hit. It would have been nice. I understand he's busy.
No, but
he could be on that show.
We'll do it again before you guys launch this. We would love to have you on the morning show of On New Jersey. I know they would love to have you on.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Brother, it was great seeing you, man.
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you so much. Robin, you as well.
When you go back home and go to the old school, it don't matter how many years went by, and I haven't seen you in a while, but I love you, man. Thank you for everything you've done for the city of Newark and the great state of New Jersey. Nick, honor meeting you, and promise we'll see you guys sometime in January. Can't wait to see this launched.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy.
By the way,
Thank you, Robin.
enjoy and embrace your beautiful weather, because you might think you miss it up here, but we're dying in a slow death with this.
Sorry about that. Well, come on down.
Okay.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you so much.